meeting of the Traffic Safety and Parking Commission to order. We'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. Sergeant Roberts, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
Gladly. Okay. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Sergeant. All right, Ms. Brewer, could we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Ing?
Here.
Commissioner Israelit?
Here.
Vice Chair Martos?
Here. All right, item 4 is the approval of minutes. We had minutes from May 9th. And has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? Commissioner Israelit?
I did, and I didn't, the correction that I asked for is made. I can't find it right away. So, okay, thank you.
Okay, so can I have a motion to approve the minutes for May 9th?
I move that we approve the minutes for May 9th.
Second?
Second that.
Okay, motion is to approve minutes from May 9th. And it's moved by Commissioner Israelit, seconded by Commissioner Ing. Are there any dissension on approval of the minutes? I don't think so. So we'll go by unanimous consent. The minutes are approved. We'll move on to the minutes of June 13th. Everyone had a chance to review those minutes. Could I have a motion to approve, please?
I'll move to approve it.
I second it.
All right. Motion to approve by Commissioner Ing, seconded by Commissioner Israelit. Any dissension? No, I don't dissent. So we will accept the minutes by unanimous consent. And we will move on to item 5, public comments. Public comments. Do you want to make your
Sure.
announcement now? Okay.
Thank you, Vice Chair Martos. So for tonight's meeting, it's a hybrid meeting, both meeting in person, and we have some folks watching online, potentially. So the two ways that you can speak on this one, for the folks that are here tonight, if you wish to speak, please fill out a request to speak card located by the door, and then you can pass the cards up to Ms. Brewer here. And then we'll allow you roughly 3 minutes to speak on any single item on the agenda. And then the other way is if we're via Zoom, so you can, unfortunately, we're not able to open the mics or have people do the chat, but we have received comments already, but if you can send those of you online, you may send a email to publiccomment@burlingame.org and we'll try to read it. Ms. Brewer will be monitoring that, and please keep your emails to between 250 and 300 words because that's roughly what we can read in a 3-minute period. And with that, I'll go back to Vice Chair.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Wong. So members of the public may speak on any item that's not on the members of the public wishing to suggest an item for a future commission agenda may do so during this public comment period. The Ralph M. Brown Act, the state local agency open meeting law, prohibits this commission from acting on any matter that's not on the agenda. Speakers may request to speak by filling in a request to speak card at the back of the council chambers on the table and hand it to our staff member, Ms. Brewer. The provision of name, address, and other identifying information is optional. Speakers are limited to 3 minutes each. And the commission chair, myself, may adjust the time limit in light of the number of anticipated speakers. So is there anyone here that wants to speak on an item that is not on the agenda? Seeing none, I will close public comment. Before we move to item 6A, Occidental Pedestrian Traffic Calming Improvements Project, I do want to acknowledge our mayor, Donna Colson, just showed up in the audience. Welcome, Madam Mayor. All right. And with that, we'll move on. Let's see. Were there any public comments? No. Okay. Online, written. Okay, so we'll move on to discussion items. Action item 6A, Occidental Pedestrian Traffic Calming Improvements Project. Mr. Wong.
All right. Thank you, Vice Chair Martos. Let's see. before we get started tonight, from our director, just because this is roughly our third sort of community meeting regarding the Occidental project, I'd like to thank everyone for not only this meeting, but the previous meetings, because we did receive a lot of feedback, and for something like this to balance everything, that was ideal. So it's much appreciated. So moving forward, again, tonight is we're make a third community meeting regarding the Occidental pedestrian and traffic calming improvements. For the presentation tonight, we'll go through a background, mostly actually for the commissioner, since this might be their first look at it, but for you folks that maybe haven't attended, we'll get a little bit more of how we got to where we are tonight. We'll have a discussion between the groups, and then hopefully obtain some more feedback, and then we'll go through what the next steps potentially are. Let's go. So back in a couple of years ago, back in November of 2022, staff applied for and received a grant from Measure A and Measure W, that's the county tax dollars, for doing pedestrian improvement projects and traffic calming at this location. We got a $420,000 grant with, and typically with the grants, there's a match that the city has approved just to show, for lack of a better term, skin in the game, so that they know the city's serious about it. So in total, we have about $600,000 for this project. And then a year later, after we selected a design team to work with us on this, we hosted a virtual community meeting and received a lot of feedback. And a lot of the feedback we got was, I think the team had thrown out, make it a little colorful out there with some quick build concepts. And some of those, they weren't as supported. So the team went back and we made some significant changes, which brings us to March of this year. We had another meeting. However, this one was held at the community center, which I imagine most of you, I know some of you had attended. And at that meeting, we showed some revised concepts, and based on the feedback we got that night, we went ahead and did just some tweaks to it. And so that's what we're presenting here tonight. Again, tonight's meeting, there were over 500 notices that went out to the community. Staff also handed out some, as well as put some poster or A-frames and put a notice on some of the intersections to try to make sure we got attendance at tonight's meeting. So the now infamous Candyland chart that we point out. So in blue, that's blue and green here. Those are the sections we've gone through. We started a project, we picked the design team, we started in green, we got the concepts. So right now we're in this orange phase, which is the initial design phase, where we've been reaching out to the community, and we're working with the Traffic Safety Commission now and trying to refine that before we go into the final design phase, which is going back to council and getting their blessing on it, as well as finalizing our construction document. So we're still here, and we can remain here for a bit as well. So first intersection I'll look at tonight is Occidental and Chapin. You can see some of the issues here. It's a skewed intersection, makes the signing right away a little tougher. Additionally, being skewed, it's offset, so that pushes them further apart. And with that, it makes, as I mentioned, the intersection quite wide. And again, if you have some vehicles at the furthest ends, they may not see each other, or pedestrians, so it makes the right of way as hard. So that's why some folks may roll through a stop sign and then stop right as they approach someone. They may not see it. So again, and at this intersection currently, we don't have marked crosswalks. And in addition to not having marked crosswalks, when people are crossing, some of these crossings are extremely long, exposing pedestrians to vehicles for longer than ideal. So what we did, here are the changes. The first one you'll see is the big, we have a raised median island there. And so that island, what it does is provides, well, we'll go into that. It makes this intersection a little tighter, because all of a sudden, rather than dealing with this wide open one, we've pushed it over, and it's a little tighter. That also improves the pedestrian access. Rather than crossing that long crosswalk that we previously had, you have shorter 2 crosswalks with we call it a pedestrian refuge, a raised portion where the pedestrians can go in and they're not in the roadway, sharing the roadway with the vehicles. So we've reduced the pedestrian crossing distances. We've also, at this intersection, to help improve right-of-way, we've also installed 2 stop signs on Occidental, which currently aren't there. Oh, in addition, I'm sorry, going back to the traffic island, we're tightening the intersection up. So that means vehicles should be progressing through it slower because they have to slow down as they approach it. There previously weren't marked crosswalks, so not only are we adding crosswalks here, we're making them high visibility. This not only is more visible from distances, but it also lets the drivers that are going through this area know that this is an active pedestrian area. So people are walking to parks, schools, churches in this area. And what we've done here, just to also to tighten up the intersection for this movement, we've added what we call a rubberized curb extension. So these are rubberized curbs, part of the quick build, but it's something that because of putting a more permanent solution here, it increases the involvement of the project because all of a sudden we have to do work on drainage. And the goal of this project, when we got the funding, it was more of a quick build, it's more simplified, not building new curbs. So while we might be able to get away with this traffic island, extending this is a little more difficult. And then installing some red curbing. Not only will this red curbing open it up a little bit, it also opens up the visibility for not only pedestrians being seen by vehicles, but vehicles being seen by pedestrians. So some of that's critical. And some of these areas, as we know by law, some of these areas are also getting red curbing because there's a new assembly bill that will require us to open up the intersections a little bit more by crosswalks. And much the same with Ralston and Occidental now. Again, we have wide, super long crosswalk here, very wide open. Again, right-of-way assignment is difficult if someone's here and someone's here. They may not see them clearly. So we are, again, moving to installing a raised median island here with an area for pedestrians to walk through. Again, shortening that crossing distance by tightening the intersection. And again, if you saw the previous one we had a very long crossing here. Now it's broken up into kind of 3 parts, the short one, the one through the island, and this. Again, high visibility crosswalks because the park is right here. And then lastly, the rubberized curb extensions to tighten up the intersection as well as force vehicles to, make a square turn. They have to go a little slower. While the next part, some of the feedback we got was actually also regarding the intersection that's in between these 2 intersections. That's the intersection of Burlingame Avenue and Occidental. Oops. Oh, sorry. And red curbing here. So for this one, what we've looked at, and I think a lot of the discussion was about having a pedestrian crossing. So I think we're going to look into accommodating that with a high visibility crosswalk on this side. And based on our initial looks at the budget, we not only can we enhance this with a crosswalk, we'll be able to use up a lot of the budget or the grant funding and install flashing beacons at this one because it still won't be controlled. It's not always stop. The only stop is on Burlingame Avenue. So for this one, it's almost, these are typically used at like a mid-block crossing. But again, someone presses it, you've seen it on Broadway, you've seen it at the roundabout, the lights flash, indicating for drivers coming down Occidental that someone is indeed warning them that someone's in the crosswalk from a distance, so they'll slow down and then folks will cross. So again, something not initially part of the project, but I think it's something we can move forward with. Yes. And so just to give you an idea of what those improvements, the raised median islands that we're talking about concrete curb, potentially, and stamped surface on top, as you can see in this upper left hand. And then on the bottom, potentially you got some coloring, and that's on top to give it some contrast. On the bottom, you can see this is the kind of the pedestrian refuge. the cutout that we would have on on the ones that we're proposing. So folks can walk through. As you can see, it's a curb height to just keep cars off it. On the upper right here is kind of an example of how we would use the rubberized curb. Again, that's pushing out the curb. We would stripe it within there. These are actually concrete wheel stops, but we would use this product that we've used in other parts of the city. It's a rubberized curb. They're just bolted down, so they're relatively temporary. If for some reason we decide that that wasn't an element, that's something we can more easily remove, so. And going down, again, I talked about all these, the stop controls, improved right-of-way assignment at the intersection at Chapin. The curb extensions narrow up the lane width, so hope they will reduce the speeds. The traffic islands also narrow up the lane widths, but also provide a pedestrian refuge by allowing a cutout. And again, also the stop signs that are being incorporated now will create breaks in the traffic flow. So folks walking now, they won't have a car that's able to go down Occidental without a stop sign. Now they'll have to stop. It'll create a pause. Red curbing at the corners, again, enhances the visibility of both the pedestrians and vehicles. The high visibility crosswalk kind of lets everyone know that this is an active pedestrian area, especially, again, we've got the church nearby, we've got the school as well as the park. But, the trade-offs are there's a little on-street parking loss with some of the improvements because the curb extensions require us to remove the parking as well as some of the red curbing. Same things occur at Ralston. And at Occidental Burlingame, the high visibility crosswalks activate, again, high pedestrian or an active pedestrian area, but especially given that there's a school, church nearby. Again, they're warning device. They're not traffic signal devices. They flash, they let folks know vehicles that pedestrians are in the crosswalk. And yeah, that is that. Again, tonight, Commission's job or duty is hopefully we can determine support for the revised concept. Again, if we're not able to determine support, we can take this back and tweak it a little bit more. I think we're close. And then come back to the commission at a future date. And then if we're good to go, then we can take that, formalize it, and then move forward at some point, bringing it to council and presenting it to them. Again, right here, we're just here. We're not all the way to the finish line yet. So we're here, but we're using this opportunity tonight to take yet more feedback from the community. So hopefully we get some more feedback and we'll take it from there.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wong. And for the audience here, I just want to go through the process. So we're going to take a couple of minutes, the commissioners, and ask any clarifying questions of Mr. Wong. And then we'll have you, the public, come up to the podium if you want to make comments on this project. You'll have 3 minutes to do that. And then we'll see if there are any emails that we received on that. And once we conclude all the public comment, and there's quite a bit of people here, we, the commission, will then try and digest all those comments and make recommendation to Mr. Wong and the engineering department on a way forward. Okay, so that's our process for this segment. Before we start, I do want to acknowledge one other person who snuck in while we were in discussion here, and that's our council member, Andrea Papajohns. Andrea, nice to have you tonight as well, sitting with Mayor Colson. All right, so commissioners, why don't we start ladies first? Any questions for Mr. Wong?
The only question, Mr. Wong, and this is like just more a curiosity. So the rubberized curbing, you showed 2 examples. One yellow painted, looked like really concrete, curbs like you'd see in a parking lot. And then the one that's sort of snake-like
Yes.
and striped. What does the city envision our rubberized curb being? Would it be painted a solid white color? I just want to get an idea of how visible it actually will be, especially in dusk and evening hours.
Through the vice chair, we'll use this product, and I think it does come in different colors. However, these are the white stripes on there. They're typically painted reflective material on there. And while I know this community, we have the option of putting the delineators on top, but we also heard from the community that that's not something they supported. And we've got that from other communities as well, or in town. So we can see definitely getting a contrasting color there to make it pop a little bit more. So
And you said possibly striping in between.
yes,
the-
there will be striping in there as
Uh,
well.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioner Ing?
I want to give the time to the, so why don't I holster any comments or questions?
All right. Mr. Wong, I did have several questions. So if we go to Chapin. Yeah. Okay.
Mm.
So, right there. All right. So the right-hand turn there, is that a yield or is that a stop?
That would be a stop. So this
That's
is literally an all-way stop.
okay. And then were there any inquiries, recommendations, or anything about a crosswalk across Occidental from that refuge island to the other side? Anybody have any interest in that? I don't know how you do it, but
Yeah, we'll have to go back and review the notes on that one. I
Yeah.
didn't think there was.
Okay.
Again, we're trying to channelize the folks
understood.
a certain way.
Yeah, I understood. Okay, I'm just curious about that. And then existing red curbing versus new red curbing. So do you have a feel for how many parking spaces we're going to eliminate with the new red curbing?
I'll see if I can get that number. I'm pretty sure we had counted, but there's going to be a few spaces that are being removed there.
Would you say less than 10?
This is one, that's two. Yeah, probably right around that.
Okay,
I see.
okay. And then last question. So I was there last night and it was dark and there were people walking. A lot of people walk on that street. A lot of cars drive on that street, on those streets. It was very dark in the intersection. Did any of the public ask for additional lighting in those intersections? This one, Chapin, and I noticed Ralston was also pretty dark. Any people request that?
Through the vice chair, I believe at one of the meetings, there was some feedback regarding this. So I'll take that, I'll be able to answer that. This project is a quick build project and it didn't entitle that. However, as I believe you're on it, and once it gets started, the Vision Zero,
Yep.
that's something that will be addressed at all throughout the city about the lighting at
Okay.
parks and intersections.
Okay, let's see. If we go to Ralston, I think I pretty much had the same questions there. So I believe you'd answered those. And then the last question on Burlingame and Occidental. Where would you say we're at in the phase of development or phase of design? Are we still in the concept or do you have feedback from the community on that, or are we at the beginning with that one?
No, I think this one, just because it was brought up at the last meeting, we didn't fully vet that we're again, all three concepts, we're taking feedback.
Okay,
This one for sure.
okay, okay, very good. All right. Show of hands, how many people want to speak on this topic? Just a few. Okay. All right. So we can go to public comment now. So if you want to step up to the podium and you can give us your name. If you want to give us your address, that's fine. And try and be specific which intersections you're talking about. That would be helpful.
You hear me okay?
Oh, yeah.
Jeremy Bender, I live at 1610 Chapin, which is about a half a block from the Chapin and Occidental. And I just want to be here to support this project. I think all of the comments around safety and the challenges of crossing that intersection, as well as the one at Burlingame, Occidental are in my view, very real and would love to see it happen. And thank you all for tackling the project.
Great. Thank you for your comments. All right. Who's next? I guess that's you. We're all friends here. Step up.
Hello, my name's Tracy Sola. I live at 300 Occidental, so right on the corner of Occidental and Ralston. I love a lot of things I see here. One of my biggest concerns, and I'm sorry I wasn't at the other meetings, is the speed of traffic between El Camino and Ralston on Occidental. That's just like a freeway, especially during commute hours. And I sit up on the second floor working all day, and people are beeping horns at each other all day because people have jumped the line at that four-way stop. So people, it's an impatient intersection. I love the idea that there will now be stop signs at Chapin to slow things down. Is there a reason that there can't also be stop signs on Occidental at Burlingame Avenue? Because I just feel like that is such a, I mean, that's a 50-mile-an-hour freeway for people trying to get home. And so I would love to see anything to slow things down there. I would say every night about 11:30 to 12:30, there's a lot of really fast cars making a lot of noise, getting up speed really fast there. I'd also like to see more lighting at both those intersections, like you mentioned, because I'm driving there a lot and I go so slow because I'm not sure if people are coming because I can't see them. So thank you for all this work and thanks.
All right, thank you for your comments. Okay, next. Yeah, please step up.
Good evening. My name is Nick Rogers. I live at 325 Chapin Lane, so go up Chapin past Occidental where it starts to turn. And I spent a couple years in this room. We did a full remodel of the house and had to follow the CEQA rules. And I think the process was worthwhile to get it right. So while we'd all love to come out of here tonight with a finalized version, I think it does make sense that we get the design right. Because I think anybody who would see what we did with our home with the guidance of the city, I think we got that right also. So my comments are, I'm in agreement with what Mr. Mardo said. I do think that we have to be a little bit careful on the red curbs and the parking because parking right now is already an issue. It spills up from, people will park on Chapin Avenue and Lane and then go work downtown. So we already have a bit of a challenge there right now. So to take away however many spots, and it's not a small number, we have to be a little bit careful about that. And I think that's probably the spirit of this whole project is it's a great project. We just have to make sure we get it right. The other thing is I agree on adding another crosswalk at that Chapin where you saw that there was one. If you look at that intersection closely, I'm not sure that there's room for a pork chop there, whatever that thing's called. But I do think by having two crosswalks there, if they're visually,
It's all right.
Taking
okay.
a minute.
Well, okay, I'll keep it short. I think that will help to slow the traffic, also protect the pedestrians. I'm not sure if there is room for that pork chop there. I think the lighting is a great point also. I know it's not part of this plan, but if we're making improvements and the money's available, I think that's a good addition. So I also, in addition to growing up here and working downtown at Lorton and Howard, I like what was done there. There's a crosswalk that was put in there, very important. People would run that stop sign all the time. I think that's very helpful from pedestrians and also, however, there were some things done with cushions and posts that have created parking issues in that area. So I just want to be careful with the way we add the red curbs and the curb bumpers that we don't have unintended consequences. And I would like to suggest a softened shoulder on the curb of the islands. If you look at these new islands that have been put in, they're almost all banged up with tires and people's wheels hitting them. So I think a soft approach just in general, because of the historic nature of the area and just the fact that we don't want to create a bunch of things, even though it's going to be a quick build once something's built. And so in closing, one thing is, when you build an addition in Burlingame or Hillsborough, a lot of times there's story poles involved. Might it make sense to have, like, even before a quick build, put some kind of story out there with either 2x4s or something just to see what it looks like? And so those are my comments, but the main point is I'm in favor of the project. I just want to make sure it's done thoughtfully and done right. Because I grew up in Foster City And there's a lot of stuff that's gone on there construction wise, and I don't think it fits in Burlingame. So those are my comments. Thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Rogers. Mr. Rogers. Yes, okay, next, come on up.
I have a lot of printouts from the computer from all the
Okay,
sessions. But my concern is let's keep Burlingame streets beautiful. I hate to say us mess them up with a lot of ugly things, like for instance, down now on Primrose and Chapin, all those sticks and things they put up there. Please don't let our neighborhood be looking like this. And when it comes to this, whatever pork shop you call them, on the printouts, you have beautiful flowers to put there. Please don't let us get all these black rubber things. Can't we make it beautiful with some bushes, flowers, grass, anything? So I work in real estate for 48 years. Everybody loves Burlingame for their beautiful streets. And I just love to see us keep it that way.
all right, thank you. Other comments? Yeah, please step up. This is for the streets on Occidental, right? Are you here for,
So I'm for the one along San Mateo Drive and California Drive closer to Burlingame.
so that's the next,
I will
okay.
next,
Are you here for Broadway in California?
Yeah.
That's the next
Next
action,
step.
next
Okay.
discussion item, okay?
Perfect.
Hold your thoughts till then. We're just going through Occidental.
one of them.
Okay, thank you. Yep. Anybody else want to speak on the proposal for Occidental? Yes, Madam Mayor. You have the mic.
Thank you. So first of all, thank you all for coming out today. It's really important. I live on Pepper at Ralston, so it's my neighborhood too. I have a question to Mr. Wong. Are the islands permanent or are they temporary? So for example, if they went in as suggested and in 6 months, people were hitting them or they were very unsightly, would they be able to be removed?
Through the way, sure. Based on the feedback we got from the last meeting that they supported, we were going to go with the more of a permanent one, a concrete curb, and then fill it in with some sort of pavers on top or the treated surface. So we're moving away from the quick build, which would be using these rubberized curbs, much Lion Oak neighborhood or something.
It would be permanent.
Yeah, these would be more permanent than, but they wouldn't be blown out like we have at Larkspur Linden, where it's a traffic island with landscaping.
Okay. And then going to Nick's commentary, and I think there was another person, and Mr. Doug Bojack, who lives on Pepper, sent in an email to me at least, and I think you maybe have seen it, but possibly the rest of the audience didn't see it. So Mr. Bojack, who lives on Pepper near Burial Lay, suggested bioswales and some more like low water, kind of more landscaping beautification, as opposed to the hard, impenetrable surface, concrete surfaces that are being proposed for a number of reasons. One, I think it fits in more likely with sort of the aesthetics of the neighborhood. And we all know the bioswales are more sustainable and, allow water to drain off and things like that. So I don't know if that could be incorporated in, but personally, I would support that. And I think that's it. Thank you very much for your hard work on all this.
All right, thank you. Anybody else want to speak on the work on Occidental that's been proposed? Okay, if not, I'll close the public comment and we'll go to the emails. Yep. Ms. Brewer, how many? 6.
6 emails, yes.
Okay.
So we'll start with Doug Bojack. Dear Commissioners, City Staff, and Consultants, thank you for refining the design for these important pedestrian improvements along Occidental Avenue. I am very pleased with the pedestrian safety elements shown, especially the use of rubberized curbing at the bulb outs. My comment instead focuses on introducing green infrastructure at the Ralston intersection and the pedestrian refuge island. Our climate is changing. In the next few decades, Burlingame's climate will most likely resemble current inland San Diego County. That projection is based on analysis described in a 2019 paper published in Nature Communications and mapped by the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science. We're looking at a future here with roughly half as much rain and summers that are 10 to 15 degrees hotter. To adapt to this future, Burlingame should be investing in a future climate-appropriate tree canopy now, and that means using the opportunity of narrowing the Ralston and Occidental intersection to install green infrastructure that can provide a multitude of co-benefits instead of simply laying new decorative paving. In fact, according to the city's green infrastructure plans, capital improvement program GI screening process, road diets, and bike ped retrofits should be advanced to a preliminary design stage for green infrastructure. I urge the consultants and city to use these several hundred square feet of reclaimed space at Ralston to create a stormwater planter area with rushes and desert willow, small trees from the city's approved street list, which are well suited to our hotter, drier future and that can be irrigated simply from winter road runoff. Thank you. The second email comes from Cheryl Wyatt. I am writing regarding the Occidental Avenue pedestrian and traffic calming improvement project. My husband and I reside at 405 Chapin Lane, and one of the things we liked most about the property when we purchased it was its proximity to downtown Burlingame. It's an easy walk to so much the town has to offer. However, crossing Occidental can be quite hazardous as the road is so wide and it's a four-way intersection. Crosswalks or perhaps four-way stop signs would be most welcome. We also have grandchildren who ride their bikes over, oftentimes with friends, and crossing Occidental Avenue is our main concern. Thank you for your consideration and looking for solutions. Next email is from Karen Wagstaff. We live at 305 Chapin Lane and are in favor of the traffic calming project along Occidental at Ralston and Chapin Avenue. However, we are concerned about a possible unintended consequence of an increase in drivers using Chapin Lane as a shortcut to avoid any speed bumps or other traffic calming devices along Occidental. People already use Chapin Lane as a way to avoid the stop sign at the corner of Ralston and Occidental in order to get to Chapin Avenue more quickly. Perhaps there should be a consideration of a speed bump or other device on Chapin Lane to avoid this probability. Thank you. The next email is from a Jim Lico. Unfortunately, I cannot attend tonight's meeting due to a prior commitment. However, I offer the following comments on the revised proposal. Occidental and Chapin. This is an improvement of the last proposal and avoids the very unsightly type of solution we see at the Chapin-Primrose intersection. However, the curb extension at the northeastern corner appears to unnecessarily constrict the intersection while at the same time eliminating a lot of street parking. That part of Chapin is now effectively 1.5 lanes when all the existing parking is used. So perhaps consider eliminating the curb extension and limit parking on one, but not both sides of the block on Chapin. As a frequent user of that intersection, I think the biggest opportunity for a safety improvement there is eliminating the parking space on the southeastern corner of Chapin. For the intersection of Occidental and Ralston, this redesign is better, but still just too much. The island nicely brings the stop further into the intersection, which will help drivers navigating right-of-way, the primary problem with that part of the intersection, and establishes a crosswalk, but is unnecessarily large. A smaller island and the painted crosswalk is adequate to the situation. I don't see the benefit of further constricting that part of Ralston or eliminating resident parking or adding an unsightly curb extension. I frankly don't think the curb extensions accomplish anything and they are unsightly. The one on the eastern side of Occidental just appears to eliminate useful parking without providing beautification, and there's no real need for calming there. The other one makes the southwesterly right turn from Occidental to Ralston much more difficult without any benefit to pedestrian safety that I can see as someone who walks that intersection multiple times a day. I would ask that they be eliminated from the final design. In my experience as a 20-year Occidental resident, the primary threat to pedestrians at that intersection is still people passing through, driving east on Ralston, who don't come to a complete stop and don't look for pedestrians crossing Ralston. This proposal doesn't seem to do anything about that issue beyond the addition of the high visibility crosswalk. Final comment, these revisions will need to be maintained. Is there any money in the grants or budgets for maintenance? For example, existing crosswalks often fade. The southbound stop at Occidental and Howard hasn't been repainted in some time, and a significant number of people either don't see it or ignore it. Similarly, the Your Speed displays in the block between Howard and Barriolet are often out of service or obscured by trees, and the one directed to northbound traffic is poorly positioned. Speeders are already braking for the Howard stop sign. I know we would all like the city's money to be spent effectively and consistently with the character of the neighborhood. I appreciate staff's responsiveness to the last set of comments. We've got two more.
Okay.
This email comes from Darren Shimkus. Thank you very much for offering this opportunity for public comment and for the revisions. It is looking and feeling much better than the first iterations, and we appreciate all of the hard work. And it feels much safer. A question about aesthetics. Have you considered including some greenery in the medians to soften the look and make it blend into the neighborhood? Between the paint, blinking lights, and rubberized curb, I worry that we will lose some of the aesthetic value on our streets. We agree that lighting should be improved. Thanks. Last email comes from Dario Abram. Hi, I live at 1549 Burlingame Avenue. We really like the proposed plans. My only comment is that I urge you to consider a stop sign on Occidental Avenue and Burlingame Avenue. We see a ton of cars speed by at all hours without care for the posted speed limit. We have 3 young children, 6, 3, and 1, and we are always in fear of having them walk close to the street because of speeding cars. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Brewer. Okay. So commissioners, you've heard public comment, emails, clarifying questions. So I guess we can start discussions. Commissioner Israelit. Ladies still get to go first.
Just taking into account, well, first of all, I think that the plans are wonderful. I think they do a great job at making it safer for people to cross, slowing down traffic by narrowing the road even visually. So I think they're great. I'm very much in favor of them. I'm hearing a few things that, I think that for the pork chops or the islands, that it is actually important for them to have straight or rectangular curbs as opposed to slope curbs, because the point is to protect pedestrians who are waiting there to cross from cars. So when you have a slope curb, the car can just go right up that curb, and I'd rather have them be marked up with rubber than to have somebody get hit. I understand the concerns for for aesthetics, and that it would be really nice to have these planted, but that does require a lot of money for upkeep, a lot of maintenance that could go away when a new recession hits or whatever, and you'd be looking at a little dirt lot. So they appeared to be quite small. I didn't actually measure the square footage. If you subtract out the crosswalk part that has to go through these pork chops, it looks like maybe 10 square feet. So I'm not sure about the bigger one, but it may not be possible to have a really nice park-like pork chop for safety reasons, as well as just, practicality, whether it's actually going to be taken care of or not. And the last thing is, I'm hearing that some of the neighbors are not loving the rubberized curbs and the bump outs to try and sort of tighten things up. We do know that when you tighten up an intersection, even if it's just visually, it does cause drivers to drive differently. And we learned this from the extensive project done in Lion Hogue neighborhood. So it does work. There may not be a way to make it beautiful, and it does make some parking go away, but as a trade-off for safety. I'm not sure, if people really hated it, it could be something we could discuss about maybe leaving out of the plan, but I would leave it up to staff, because if you feel that will definitely make it safer and make cars travel slower, I think that really is the goal for your neighborhood, from what I'm hearing. So pretty much I'm in favor of the plan as it stands. I don't see anything that's really awful or needs to be changed, but I'm willing to listen.
All right. Thank you, Commissioners Rowlett. Commissioner Ing?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions, Mr. Wong, before kind of diving in. You know, when you mentioned the temporary installation of the bulb outs, or, you know, the rubberized curbing, in what instances have we actually taken them back out?
Through the Vice Chair.
Yep. Go ahead.
The one that comes to mind is at Larkspur Linden, we had installed but we replaced it with a permanent structure on that one. Again, I think Lion Hope was our first big swing at this using the rubberized curb, so we haven't pulled any out yet, but it's been a relatively short time since we've introduced them.
So it's less about the temporary nature of them being there and more just it's a placeholder for something more permanent.
If that's what the community feels. But yeah.
And then as it relates to, you know, I think you'd referenced the new state law and the extension of the red curbing to, you know, within a certain distance of the stop signs. When you look at some of the schematic here, like even the one that's right on right now, if you look at the, I guess the top left part of the map there, the extension on Ralston is significantly longer than on the other side of the street. So are there ways to revise some of these so that you can try to claw back some of the spots so we're not giving them all up in the process? Like what exactly is the statute, and, you know, to what degree are we following by the letter of the law here, or is there some interpretation taking place? But and in each of the maps, there are some similarities in that one side's longer than the other, and it might be a way that you compromise and retain some of those spots.
Through Chair. So yeah, looking at some of this, obviously, you know, as we talked about, we've talked about AB Assembly Bill 413, where, you know, like it's, for instance, here, it's marked 20 feet back from the crosswalk. This location like that would be no longer parking regardless of this project or not. Similar over here, any approach to the intersection, these spaces throughout the city will be, at some point, they may not be marked red curb, be not legal to park in because of that. But your question is bringing up Ralston. Portions of Ralston here, again, you shouldn't be parking on a curve. However, we can explore seeing what we can reduce down. But again, some of it was needed to actually get some, to widen this out, to have this a little more defined, right? So you could have that, but we can take another look at that. And while I've got the mic, just to mention, you know, some of the greening, we can, again, take another look at that and see if we can do it. However, there was a conscious effort because when we first took a look at it, it was, we can do greening at one of these islands, but then the other couldn't. So it was kind of, we're trying to balance to have it be equal in both areas, but we can try to see what else we can do there with that same thing in mind, where we're balancing it. One intersection isn't getting more than the other. They're very similar. So we can look at that, although you're right, the greening is expensive because not only you consider that, you have to get the irrigation in there. This is, again, the grant was more of a quick build, and we're, you know, as with all projects, we're starting to move outside the lines a little bit, but for something like that, again, we can take a look at it. And what else is that? Yeah, again, we'll take a look at it with the eye on trying the red curbing as well as the bulb outs, trying to preserve some more parking. But yeah, we had that in mind the first time, but we'll see if we can, see what else we can obtain and make it more clear of what's being removed because of something like AB 413 versus what we need for additional space, and try to define that better on the plan.
Great. Sorry, just two quick things.
Sure.
You had mentioned that the lighting kind of citywide project is subsequent to this, but I think it's really hard to make wholesale changes here without factoring in that aspect of it, because I do think that, I mean, that drives a lot of what the safety issues are, right? So when is that likely to come online, and how much can that factor into some of the decision-making here?
Again, for the grant, lighting gets costly because you have to work PG&E, you have to trench the street, and all of a sudden that what seems like a big pot starts dwindling down, and then we're doing more of a lighting project. And we've had this happen where we start trying to do that, and then the lighting aspect becomes more expensive than the traffic calming aspect. So as I mentioned, the Vision Zero will be looking at what we need as lighting throughout the city, and take a better look at it than we can with this project, and then try to identify which areas, like, you know, obviously residential different than a commercial, but trying to figure out what, because we actually don't have like how many foot candles do you need at this particular one? We have certain, we've been working with certain lighting manufacturers and getting things, but we don't actually have a standard on file. So through the Vision Zero, hopefully we can get at least some more of that, or at least identify where our deficiencies are.
I recognize it's like 12-dimensional chess that you're trying to play here. And,
Yeah.
And at the same time, I think resoundingly the commentary has been, making improvements that are necessary, but not overly done. So I think when you have all these additional factors that could play, there's a balance to be struck there.
Sure.
Last comment also.
Yeah.
I think, a few other comments about just the overall speed in the streets there. And remind me what the speed limit is on.
Occidental is residential streets, so it's 25. And, oh, I'm sorry, one thing I didn't point out from previous, I think there was, and you've heard some folks even here tonight, the speed cushions, right? The balance of that. So I think from our last meeting, it's more of an incremental, like, we'll put these in first. Again, you're adding additional stop signs. I think there was an email talking about people bypassing Ralston by using Chapin because there's no stop sign. Now we're going to have a stop sign at Chapin. So maybe that pulls vehicles off. We're tightening this down, and obviously the pedestrian improvements are stating it's more of a pedestrian area. So you should expect that. So again, while speed cushions aren't in this plan, potentially they could be not as part of this project, but we can look into it later on if that's what it is, because then we'll be able to, as we do with other streets, survey the speed. And
Done?
Thank you.
Okay, all right. So I did have a couple of comments, Mr. Wong, so you can stay on this diagram.
I will.
Explain to me what's a bio swell and what kind of irrigation and water supply and things like that? Because this island is really big, and it's not the best thing to look at. But I understand it's a trade-off if we're going to put something that's alive there with irrigation and water supply and things like that, and possibly maintenance. But can you explain to me what's a bioswell?
Sure. And recall, this is Traffic Safety Parking Commission.
Oh, all right,
traffic-
not beautification? All right.
Well, so what it is if you go down Burlingame Avenue and you've seen those bulb outs there?
Yeah.
There's grassy material. So, right, it's a little deeper. So the point is that the water goes down and it's filtered through there and then gets into the aquifers by draining through plants and different soils. Actually, Andrea could probably explain it better, but that's the point of it. So it's think of it as a landscape island with more to it, that it's actually doing something other than just the beautification part. In order to do that here, usually the bioswales are up against the curb because that's where the water, the road crowns and the water runs into it. The island makes it a little tougher because in order to redirect the water there, you're making the low spot the island, and usually that's the high spot to get the water run. So while the median island wouldn't have that treatment, potentially this, and that's something we did consider, but again, it's the 12-dimensional chess of trying to balance costs. And so if the community is strong on that, we can go back and push for that. But then those would be permanent installations. Those are definitely not temporary, and they do, as we've indicated, with the greening, it'll cost more because you're now breaking the surface and digging down.
Right. Okay. Okay. Yeah, and I appreciate that because everything's a trade-off. So I appreciate that the public understands that there is a trade-off if we want to change that island. I also wanted to inquire about, and I asked this in my clarifying questions, that right-hand turn, does that have to be a stop or could it be a yield? We now have stops going northbound, I guess, on Occidental. So does that really need to be a stop sign there, or can that be a yield?
It does not need to be a stop. However, I think the feedback we got was at the last meeting was to control that, to make it a stop so you didn't have folks, as you may see it, just try to fly through there. However, it's something we can, again, if the community feels that way, because it's tightened up, vehicles will be slowing down. It could be a yield, but again, the feedback we got was they desire to have that stop controlled.
Okay. And then, like Commissioner Ng said, the red curbing. I understand we have to follow AB 413. And that's a requirement, so I would say consider what's required and no more unless it puts the project at risk or public at risk in these intersections. But, you know, we always try and preserve parking where we can. There's
Yeah.
never seems to be enough in Burlingame. Now I did, I think, I parked on all these streets last night when I was there. I didn't have any trouble parking, let me put it that way. So I didn't see a problem on Chapin or Ralston when I parked. But, you know, again, we have to follow AB 413, so that's required. And I would say if you can preserve some of that space and not red curb as far as this indicates, then that would be my recommendation. The last question I had, and that goes for Ralston as well. Let's see, oh, this is Ralston. That goes for Chapin as well. Both those comments with the yield on right turn and the red curbing. Burlingame Avenue, so can you flip to that real quick? I just wanted to confirm something. So is there there is a stop sign at Burlingame and Occidental. Yep, that westbound, I guess, westbound, yeah, okay. Okay, so I think that's pretty good. Now, the new stop signs are going to break that street up. I noticed people were not driving 25. They were driving probably 35 going down that street. And so I think this will control the speed on that street as well, having stop signs at Chapin and Ralston as well. So I think that'll be a good thing. And I didn't hear any opposition from homeowners. Don't put a stop sign in front of my house. I don't want to hear cars stopping and all night long. But I think it is needed because I did observe a lot of cars traveling faster than 25 on that street when I was there last night. And then there were, to the credit, quite a few people walking their dogs and pushing strollers and things like that. So I hope after this phase that through Vision Zero, we can look at lighting up those intersections because it's pretty dark. Okay. Any comments
I
on
did
my comments?
a little bit one here because there was
Yeah.
a comment about making Burlingame and Occidental always stop being a T intersection. While it may not meet warrants for that we have to go through a series of warrants to identify the stop signs necessary. The one thing that does go away, these beacons, if this was become an always stop, obviously it's controlled, so the beacons no longer are applicable. We couldn't use them because the guidance says they're only to be used at uncontrolled intersections. So it's just to put that out there. So it's strong. We've heard that the community wanted a ped crossing, and well, we had the opportunity. That's what we went with.
Right. And this intersection is in between Chapin and Ralston, correct?
That's correct.
And so at Chapin, there's a stop sign. At Ralston, there's a stop sign. So in theory, things will be moving a little slower when they get to this intersection. I don't think it's a big stretch between, I think either way, between Burlingame and those other streets. Unless they're really gunning it, I think this should be pretty safe. And I do like the rapid flashing beacons. Those are, I think, really alert drivers to stop, pay attention. So, all right, go back. Commissioner Israel, did I trigger something in your mind?
Well, I did have another question.
Okay, go ahead.
If I could go back to the Ralston drawing. Is it possible, I mean, I'm just thinking about what I've been hearing and then looking at the difference between these two intersections. The pork chop in this intersection is so much bigger, like twice, 3 times as big as the other one. And I understand that I'm sure this is a wider intersection, and I'm assuming that is why you made it so much. Is it possible to make it smaller? Would that make people happy?
So we can take a look at it. That's something for sure. But in looking at the design of it, so this crosswalk here, as we narrow this side up, because you end up pushing it this way. So that means this crosswalk gets pivoted more, right? So we're trying to keep it squared up as much as possible, but that may be a trade-off, but we can definitely look at, it. But that's how we got to where we were.
I was just thinking like that, as it shows up on this slide, the apex, the point,
Mhm.
could that come down a lot more? But I know there are,
We can look at that. We can look at that, but then it becomes, yeah.
yeah, I just wondered. Thank you.
Commissioner Ing, anything else? Mr. Wong, would you like us to vote on this? I think most of what I heard, people are in favor. Couple of suggestions, and I mean, if we vote tonight and you've heard some additional suggestions, things to consider as well, will those be considered if we give a motion to move forward with this, or should we bring it back?
It does sound like, just number-wise, to see if we can get greening and some of these other things to share with the community. I think they would like that, to see if there are questions, or at least
Yeah.
that maybe we bring it back for another bite.
You want to bring it back one more time?
That's fine with.
Okay. All right. All right. Ms. Brewer,
I did receive
a
an,
motion?
no, I received an additional public comment via email. Did you want me to read that? Or-
Did it come in after I closed public comment?
I did.
No.
Okay, I'll forward it then.
You can forward it to Mr. Wong.
Mhm.
Yep.
that
Okay.
happen.
All right. Well, Mr. Wong, I think you're, gosh, 90% there,
Yeah.
95%
Well, you-
there, and it looks
Make a
really good.
For us to do, like, as it said, to bring it back and make that motion.
Okay.
That'll be clear.
Yeah, Commissioner Ing?
I'd like to move to for Mr. Wong to take into account the suggestions and bring it back in front of Teaspoon and we'll
It's just not me.
Can we?
and the team.
And I second that.
I don't think we need a formal motion for that.
Okay.
Wong, so we'll see this again because we have not approved it yet.
See it again.
Okay.
For the members and sorry, you'll have to attend another meeting, but I think.
But we do appreciate, and the mayor said, we appreciate all your feedback. And I was there last night, and this is definitely an area that needs some work. And we've got a very good engineering staff doing their best to make this a lot safer for everyone. So
And we'll
appreciate
strive
everyone's
for
feedback.
Perfection.
Yeah, well, perfection's not an option, but we do our best to do our very best. So, all right, thank you. So I'll close item 6A, and we will move on to item 6B. So you're welcome to stay. Item 6B is no parking on California, the intersect Cross Street Broadway. We'll give the room a minute to empty out. Say again? Yeah. All right. So let's see, Mr. Wong, we'll move on to item 6B. Amending section 13.36.020, chapter 13.6. What's that mean? No parking during specified hours. And this is in regards to California Drive at the intersection of Broadway. Mr. Wong, your staff report presentation, please.
Thank you, Vice Chair Martos. Again, this is doing a presentation tonight on the 1200 block of California and potentially changing the parking restrictions along that. Similar to our last presentation, we'll have a background, give the folks, because it's been a while, and then have the discussion and obtain some additional feedback, and then determine the next steps. So a few years ago, the commission here discussed making potential changes to the 1200 block of California between Rayonette and Lincoln. The point of this was to, there were queuing on southbound California, especially during the afternoon. There was concerns with vehicles crossing over and then blocking the bicycle lane and being on top of it, as well as vehicles crossing the center line as they were trying to get in the left turn lane, because now with the Class 2 facility, everything narrowed up a little bit. And then there was one where drivers weren't fully utilizing the left turn lane, and we were trying to address. So Staff presented a proposal to improve the throughput by eliminating the on-street parking, approximately 8 spaces on the west side of California. So that's between just north of Rionette to Juanita. There's about 8 spaces. Shifting the Class 2 bicycle facility up against the curb, and then allowing it to be a little wider for a little bit more stacking there for southbound vehicles. Again, this would hopefully reduce the queuing length along California Drive, as well as the number of vehicles blocking it. But more importantly, open up the access, especially for those folks using the left turn lane. We'll see some of the changes that we're proposing. But in order to do this, that portion of California it currently has in the municipal code no parking during specified hours. So that would need to be changed. So here you have, looking at this, moving left to right, California Drive, right here, Broadway. What's used to be public parking, but it's now the Audi parking, Juanita, Rionette, and this is the Goodwill parking lot. So the area that we typically have a lot of conflict is right here, Rionette and the California, particularly in the southbound direction. So here it is a little closer, and you can already see the queuing in this aerial photo. The vehicles queued up, and you can see this one. They're starting back up. These folks are actually being pretty good. They're keeping the gap, but on most days, this, if you've been out there, that keep clear is ignored. Again, you can see the area here. We have the on-street parking. We have the Class 2 bike lane, and you get to see this vehicle's already shifting over probably to go southbound, but can't go any more forward. The southbound through lane, just a little bit of a striped island. The northbound lane, as well as the northbound bicycle lane that just happens to start right here at Juanita. So here's kind of a plan sheet of what we were proposing. On the top part, you have Lincoln Avenue going to California, and then this breaks and goes down to this bottom line all the way to California or to Broadway. So you're looking at the entire stretch just in 2 segments. So right now we have existing red curbing between Rionette and Broadway, as well as just south of Lincoln. Proposed red curbing is 2 spaces just north of Juanita, and then the rest of between Juanita and Rionette to be red curbed. And then the bicycle facility push up against the curb. In addition, as I mentioned, to help the left turn queuing is to open up a little bit here. So you'd have this extra space here for left turn vehicles to queue up in to keep it a little bit more. So your pinch point is moved here, but it's not at an intersection and it's not blocking the bicycle lane. The last time, I think the comments that came back, they did a little bit of analysis. So we looked at 3 scenarios. The first scenario 1 is what's out there now using existing volumes. That's with the bicycle facility in place, the lane configurations as they are. Scenario 2 used our existing volumes and set the lane configurations up prior to when the bicycle facility's in. So you can see what we had roughly would have had before versus now, but using the same traffic volume, so you're all kind of equal. And scenario 3 is showing the proposed improvements, the changes. At Broadway, California, you can see right now we have roughly a level of service D, roughly high 30s, low 40s. That's seconds of delay per vehicle waiting in each of the queues. And so it doesn't change that much with any of the scenarios. It's roughly the same. Looking at table 2, that's the queue links at Broadway, California. So this is how far back it's queuing. And we'll just look specifically here at California Drive. During the morning, during what's happening now currently, you're having a queue about over 900 feet queued up from Broadway, California, all the way back. Previously, in the morning, it was similar. It was still about 900 feet. However, in the PM peak, it was less, about over 200 feet shorter. So under scenario 3, not only does it show projected to get closer to what we previously had, we can also reduce it in the morning by that same amount, roughly a couple hundred feet. So that was one questions that was asked last, and the other was, and I think most of the concerns here are the removal of the on-street parking, what to do with it, because some of the comments we got were, if you go back, sorry. We had the Audi lot that formerly used to be, as I mentioned, public parking. And there were a lot of questions, will we be able to get that back? However, working on the Broadway grade separation project, the parking for the grade for the station would be over where the opposite side be on Carolyn and Broadway, where the car wash is. That's the new proposed location for the Caltrain parking. This area would be needed for the walls and potentially moving the bicycle facility up on there. There's plans for this as part of the grade separation that don't involve parking or any extra space. So getting back to that. So that's not an option. So we looked at this parking lot here, parking lot S. And as I should show here, currently there are 15 2-hour spaces, 7 10-hour spaces, and an ADA space. There was talk maybe we can change some of the parking restrictions or durations there to make it more accommodating for the loss of the on-street parking here, whether it be short-term for clients or even more long-term if there's more employees to try to help address them. Feedback, observations we got from Sergeant Roberts and his park enforcement staff was that the lot is usually full by midday, but then during the afternoon, it trickles off, which kind of indicates that it's not being utilized for long-term parking as much for the 9 or 10 hours. But during the weekends, it's quite busy given the activity on Broadway. So tonight, hopefully that's some of the feedback. If this is something that the community is interested in, we can try to at least get an idea of which type of parking they prefer, long-term, short-term, even shorter term. Potentially we could put some 24-minute parking in there, but some of the questions that came up, but we might have the ability to have some flexibility to make some changes here. However, tonight, for this, what we're talking about is Chapter 13.36 parking limitations, and specifically 13.36.020 parking during specified hours. As you can see, the current municipal code says no parking during specified hour. It is unlawful for the operator of any vehicle to park the vehicle on the following streets on the designated hours and days as follows. This particular code lists different streets. We get to number 6, which is California Drive. And the one that's in there says currently it's west side from Juanita to Broadway between 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. and between 4 p.m. and 6 p.m. So that's the one section of this particular municipal code that we're interested in tonight. The revised one would, again, have everything except for that one section. We would be removing west side from Juanita to Broadway, 7 to 9 p.m. and between. That would be removed and everything else will remain. So that would be the change we're seeking. So for tonight, again, obtain a motion for the changes if that's desired based on feedback. Staffed, and then we would go through our normal process of taking this to the city council for them to introduce and adopt. And then, however, moving forward, this project where we don't have funds, it has been identified, so we'd have to go back through that process and either through the mid-year budget or through another project try to get this work done if we were to move forward. And yes, the commission turn it back over to you.
All right, thank you, Mr. Wong. So we will proceed with commissioner questions, and then we'll move to public comment, and then we'll wrap up with commissioners' recommendations. So let's start with Commissioner Ng. Did you have any questions?
No immediate questions.
No questions. Commissioner Israelite, any questions?
Yes. How many spots will we lose? I believe that it was about 6 when I, and also how many spots will we lose And how many spots will it be after the new regulation that makes it illegal to park right by an intersection?
No, thank you. So it's roughly six spaces between Rayonet and Juanita. So this from here to here. There are 2 additional spaces in order to get the left turn, to get this sorted out, because there's driveways here and there's red curbing. So this is only what the parking that's remaining between Juanita and Lincoln. So it'd be 2 spaces. But going back to AB 413, it's 20 feet. So if there's 2 spaces here, it's roughly 1 space. So it would be, this 1 space would already be eliminated here. And then the same thing at Rayonet. So when you bring that up, you take 8 minus 2, it's roughly 6 spaces that are being lost. Because
Wouldn't you also lose 1 spot on the other side of Juanita?
again, AB 413
Yeah.
only is regarding the approach
Oh,
to a crosswalk or to,
okay.
crosswalk.
Okay, so we're gonna lose 6 spots, did you say, minus 2 that would be lost anyway from the
Correct.
AB? So we're losing 4 spots.
No, sorry, it's 6 spots.
Okay.
8 minus.
Minus, okay, so we're losing 6 total. Okay, and then I guess this isn't really questions, more of comment.
Okay. No other questions?
Oh, sorry.
Oh, no,
I did have one question. Sorry.
One second.
Kidding.
No other questions?
no other questions for me.
All right, I'll go back to you, Commissioner, and go ahead.
Mr. Wong, can you clarify that if you extended that left turn lane, is that requiring the red curbing or they're 2 separate concepts?
Again, we already have the driveways. If we didn't have this left turn, we'd have the issue still right here because this is kind of the pinch point. This gives us a little bit more flexibility by adding that little section to allow more vehicles to queue.
Right. I'm sorry. What I was trying to say was, do you need to red curb all that area in order to get that left turn lane in there? Or are they completely independent of each other?
Well, no, I think we do need, in order to get the necessary width here, that bit. And I'll have to say, and an aerial doesn't show it, this particular property, this is the, I can go to an aerial, but this is the side. This is the front of it is on Juanita. So that's the side of the property. And that's their driveway in and out. So it's not a residence or a business that fronts right there onto California.
But to say like to actually get that in there, you really only need to remove 1 parking spot because 1 you'd have to eliminate anyways due to the law.
Correct.
And then the other side of the block, you're not changing any of the lanes either. So, okay. No, that helps. Thanks.
Okay. So, let's see. I don't know if it was in the report, but there are, oh yeah, Lot S has 7 10-hour spaces. Okay. And on Rayonet, Mr. Wong, is it Rayonet?
Rhinet.
Rayonet, excuse me. That's yeah, that's near the parking lot. Do you know what the parking limitations are on Rayonet? Is that all day or are they 2 hours or
I'll have to go look at that one.
Sergeant? Not sure? Okay. Okay. All right. Okay, so any other questions? If not?
No.
Yep, okay. So we'll go to public comment next. So public, you're welcome to step up to the microphone and comment on this project. I can give you 3 minutes and go ahead and step up, and if you don't mind giving us your name.
Hi, my name's Paul Demich. I own 2 of the buildings on California between Rhinet and Juanita. So totally opposed to taking away any of the parking spaces. When COVID hit, I owned a laundromat at the time. I got 2 calls, one from the county and one from the state, saying, you're an essential business, you have to stay open. So we are providing a good service. And the question is, if you take away those spaces, where are they gonna park? Are they gonna go on Rynette or Juanita, which is already a challenging situation? Some of the people have resorted to putting traffic cones out in front of their house to stop people from parking there. So the response has always been, well, you have that parking lot S. That really doesn't help us because there's 9-hour parking there. So a lot of the people, a lot of the merchants park there all day. So that lot is full all the time. In my opinion, the best thing to do is just not do anything till the grade separation happens. Everything's gonna change again anyway. So, yeah, that's it.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it. Hi.
Joanne Singh, and I'm California Drive. I have a business downstairs, and I live on top of the building, and I do have a narrow driveway, and there's about, 2 or 3 car parking for residential for us. And I find it difficult to turn in my driveway right now. It's because it's narrow without hitting the curve. So I don't know how's that gonna do with 2-lane with busy car and how I'm gonna go into my driveway. That's my concern. And so, yeah, of course, the parking, if you're taking away, I have clients been in the business for 30 years, and I have elder clients, and they come to my salon because it's, there's parking, they can get out with walker, or, easier, and Goodwill's always packed. There's no way they can, park there. So that's my opinions.
Okay, thank you. Hi, welcome.
How you doing?
Okay,
Sure. I actually occupy 1255 California, actually, the laundromat. And, my concern is the first thing, well, I should say the customers first, because there's a lot of families that come with a lot of kids, and then we always help them going in and out. In addition to elderly people. So if their parking lot's full, they park on the street, we help them. If they have to go to Goodwill, it's kind of like a far stretch with the carts and their kids, or if they're elderly. Second thing too is safety. We collect a lot of money from the laundromats, and we normally don't use the parking lot. We save them for the customers. And usually we park on, obviously California. So having to park around the corner and carrying money is, bit unsafe, I guess. And in addition to that parking, I'm sure it's going to affect the residents around the corner. Because if you add me and my partner, I'm there all day, and the other residents that are there, it's going to, affect the residents that are around the corner from us. And like you said, parking is important. I heard you earlier, so that's where I'm at with that.
all right.
Thank you.
Thank you, appreciate it. Anybody else? Hi, state your name.
Hi,
Hi, Les.
I'm Leslie Beatty. I live on Juanita Avenue. And so I am like right around the corner from this. And so I'm frequently in this little neck of the woods here. And so I totally understand why you're thinking about this, by the way, because it gets super backed up, right? So I get that. And I do want to say, my lens on this is, my daughter's going to ride in this little stretch of bike lane every single day to high school. And so I'm looking at it from what's the situation going to be like in that bike lane? It is important, I think, that the business on this block is a laundromat, because that parking lot gets packed, and it sometimes overflows out and across the sidewalk, which forces pedestrians out into the parking lane, which right now is not a big deal, but when it's the bike lane, and there's cars that are edging out into the bike lane and across the sidewalk, then that's going to create a lot of conflicts, I think, for pedestrians and bikes and cars all in that. And so that's my main concern from a resident perspective. I also want to throw up, I know that Caltrain's about to roll out its new electrification service, which is going to be more frequent trains. And I do want to say that the signaling on this intersection has changed quite a bit. And one of the reasons it's so backed up is that you never can turn left off of California Drive onto Broadway. that signal is short and it happens very infrequently and it gets skipped after the train goes by. So it's like if the signal so favors the people getting off the freeway now to go up Broadway, they get like a 3x signal cycle. I actually think that that makes a huge difference in this intersection and for traffic flow. And I haven't heard anyone talking about it, but I wish we could consider this a little more because I think maybe re-signaling it could help some of these congestion problems. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay. Next. Hello. Oh, hang on. Step up to the mic so we can turn on the recording. Great.
I'm in behalf of my coworkers and myself at Goodwill. I know when I came here, I couldn't understand a lot of the issues that we have. My only issue was at this point that we have some parking space that is gonna be taken away from us, not only on the streets, but also on our own parking, well, city parking, but we consider it kind of like Goodwill parking spot. We as employees have to travel far distances for getting to work. And having less time in some of the meters makes it complicated because we're gonna be getting tickets that we don't have enough money to pay for. Myself, I've been ticketed 3 or 4 times already because the parking spots get so full that when I get to work, I can't find anything. And I have to pay the city a lot of money that I unfortunately don't have. And you eliminating some of those spaces that we need at work in the streets creates a chaos. Not only that, it's gonna change Goodwill, it's gonna close it, where I'm gonna go to work, how I'm gonna make my living. And not having a space enough to park in there, it makes it really difficult. Some of the customers, I know, I understand 10-hour parking during the nighttime, it doesn't really work, but during the daytime, it's essential for some of us. It's gonna drive business away from the city. Broadway is gonna look glimmer and ugly. We need to revamp this city by creating spaces for the small, businesses to survive, to make the city pretty. We have a lot of space wasted, when it comes to, I don't say we cut the trees down in San Mateo on California, but we can use those spaces to make it pathways for people to walk, for bicycles to ride around, instead of being exposed right in the middle of the street, narrowing the streets. It makes it more complicated because people wants to go faster to the freeway. One of the lanes that you have used now for parking, people are very conscientious because they open their doors towards the traffic, incoming traffic. I almost got into an accident several times because people are not considerate. They are not thinking that I'm coming into the street. They open their doors from the cars into the incoming traffic. And then top of that, people don't have the rationality. What we have to work is in educating people, the mind of people, understanding consequences, casualties, and hitting people. I don't want to injure anybody when they open the door, not thinking that I'm coming in the street. And I get surprised. I had to brake really hard and a car almost hit me in the back because of that. People open their doors towards the incoming traffic. I don't have enough time sometimes to stop. And I don't want to hit by a car in the back. Also, there is a space in there that they say is being used for bicycles and stuff. I hardly seen anybody there. I have seen kids in the afternoon drinking and partying in there, smoking pot and drinking. I mean, that's not a very useful use for that space. We have a space where where the water runs between the railroad tracks. There's a space that we can make a nice, visible, beautiful area in there. Make pathways, sitting down ways for people to sit down and enjoy. That can be useful. Lights, when you come to lights, I know it's expensive to have electricity, but we have other means now. We have solar. You can put lights in there that use the solar energy, and we don't have to maintain that. Also, we can use plants that are national to this area, endemic to here, that we can use. They don't need many maintenance. They don't need water except the rainwater. We can use that. We can beautify the city using the spaces that we already have. Along the railroad, it can be constructed something beautiful. Driveways, pathways, sitting areas, and that cannot look ugly anymore. You can find trees that are suitable for these conditions. Eucalyptus are beautiful to absorb carbon dioxide. We can maintain them and sustain it. And instead of having wires of electrical, why we don't put the wires underground? Preventing the hazards from the trees that we need to breathe. We need oxygen. We need trees, and they consume a lot of carbon dioxide in those areas, especially areas that are heavy on traffic. We need greenery. We need to have healthy air to be healthy. You're considering only on safety. Yes, I understand safety is important, and I value that.
Please
But
wrap it up, please.
we have air.
Thank
That we
you.
have places safe for us in using and reusing and refurbishing what we already.
Okay, please wrap up?
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Valesco? Good evening.
Hello, Commissioners. Good evening. How are you? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back from the summer. We're talking about California Drive. It's around the corner from where I live. There's a laundromat there. There's the auto body shops that the gentleman had talked about. The parking demand over there, as Ms. Beatty was saying earlier, is over 100%. And it often spills out into the sidewalk. So the demand is over 100%. And the proposal is to drive the parking supply on the block to zero. So that's going to create other problems. And what we're talking about here is not parking. And it's not running, so I just want to make sure I stay on time. We're talking about curb space. So removing the curb space from this place removes parking, yes. But more importantly, it removes loading and unloading, deliveries, pickups. The people who are dropping off their laundry, they're not going to go to the Goodwill parking lot, park there, and then haul their stuff back, and they're not going to do it at the end of the trip. UPS, FedEx, Amazon, they are going to make their deliveries to the auto body shop, to the cleaners, to the beauty shop. Guess what we're going to do? They're going to do it if there's no parking there. They're going to do it on top of the bike lane. So it's not a bike lane improvement. I ride there, I drive there. So if you do this, and if you vote to go ahead with this, that's okay, but don't call it a bike improvement because it will not be a bike safety improvement. And don't call it a driver improvement because as a driver, I don't like bicyclists who leave the bike lane to pass a FedEx or UPS truck to go in front of me and I might hit them. So that's not an improvement either. I think what you'll find in the modeling is that it's going to be really unsatisfying if you implement this. I think what you're going to find is maybe you save 10 to 20 seconds for all the grief and all the problems this is going to cause. So the cost benefit doesn't work out. What Ms. Beatty says, it's correct. The potential for improvement at this intersection lies not with the parking, but it lies with the way that signal operates. Because it is true, and I've observed it several times, is that the people coming off the freeway, going westbound on Broadway, get a lot more time. You could see the platoon of cars leave and it's empty and it's still green for like 2 minutes. And all that 2-minute time, no one is moving. I'm there, like I had to bring somebody to the airport at 6 a.m. in the morning. That phenomenon happens. There is something wrong with that signal. Like, why is it that there's cars that are building up on Maverick Jacks, on the Chevron, on the other gas station, and you could see nobody's coming. And I've seen people run that light because the signal doesn't appear to be working correctly. So I would suggest that the city invest time in trying to upgrade that signal and don't rely on the grade separation that's going to happen. It is time, it is worth it for the city to start doing that now rather than wait 5 to 10 years for the $333 million to deliver that project. I think we deserve that now. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Valesco. Anybody else that has not spoken? All right, then I will close public comment. Ms. Brewer, yep.
I have 2 emails.
Hang on a second. All right, yeah, email, go ahead.
The first email comes from Dan Myers. Hi, I am in favor of removing public parking along the 1200 block of California between Rynette Avenue and Lincoln Avenue. However, you're focusing on absolutely the wrong thing, which is to better protect the bike lane running parallel to those parking spots. Can you better state why you want this traffic change? It is really bad messaging to simply make the request for feedback without offering any kind of rationale for this change. I don't mean to be snarky, but this is the umpteenth Burlingame announcement like this, where a notice is sent about a change or potential change and there's no context or rationale presented. It's simply poor, lazy public messaging. If this change is to better protect the bike lane, then I'm all for it. I routinely see drivers skirting the law and driving along the bike lane in order to continue straight through the Broadway, California intersection in order to continue along California. Police are posted there sporadically, but more work needs to be done to protect bicyclists in this area. If this change doesn't lead to a more dedicated bike lane, for example, for reasons of safety rather than traffic flow, then I'm absolutely against it. You're taking street parking away from residents who live along this stretch, and you're affecting small businesses such as the laundromat. You're putting lipstick on a pig, and the traffic will remain backed up here. If it's not for safety and is only going to mildly ease traffic, but not be a genuine solution, then you'd be wasting taxpayers' money. The entirety of Burlingame wants you to stop wasting money on frivolous projects and start saving and raising the cash for a grade separation along the Broadway tracks. It doesn't seem to be coming anytime soon from anywhere else. You've got a budget, start budgeting for this project. So in short, if you're stealing parking for a mild fix to a traffic issue directly related to the backup caused by the train tracks, then absolutely no. If you're doing it to make the bike lane safer, then it's truly in the public good and is a more justified rationale. Thank you. Next email is from Dominic Sang. I am writing on behalf of my parents and their fellow business owners who operate between Rynette Avenue and Lincoln Avenue on California Drive. We are deeply concerned about the city's proposed plans to remove parking spots in this area. This change poses a severe threat to our businesses and community, and we implore you to reconsider this decision. Our businesses are already struggling with the limited parking availability. The removal of these crucial parking spots would exacerbate the existing challenges faced by residents, workers, and commuters alike. Furthermore, the recent leasing of the nearby parking lot by Audi has significantly reduced the number of accessible parking spaces, making it even harder for our customers and employees to find parking. The proposed removal of these parking spots will have a devastating impact on our businesses. Many of our customers rely on these spaces for convenient access, and without them, we fear a significant decline in patronage. This change threatens the livelihood of many small business owners in our community, including my parents and their neighbors. We urge you to consider the following points. The current parking situation is already inadequate for the needs of residents, workers, and commuters. Removing these parking spots will further strain the limited parking resources and negatively impact local businesses. The recent leasing of the nearby parking lot by Audi has already diminished available parking, compounding the problem. We are prepared to fight against this proposal to protect our businesses and community. The removal of these parking spots is not a viable solution and will have far-reaching negative consequences for all affected parties. We respectfully request that you retain the existing parking spots on California Drive between Rynette Avenue and Lincoln Avenue. Preserving these spaces is essential for the continued success and vitality of our local businesses and community. Thank you for your attention to this urgent matter. We hope for a favorable resolution that supports the needs of our businesses and community.
Is that it? All right. Thank you. We are not, but you're the mayor, so you can
It's still public comment.
say again. Oh,
Comment.
we're still in public. Yeah, we are. Yeah. Yeah, we're still open. Yeah.
I'm going to face this way, even though I'm sort of talking to everyone here. So I just want to let the audience know and anyone who's listening that sometimes ideas like this that come up are, they percolate up as members of the community ask questions or want us to look into things. Because there's a little bit of implication that this is the council's idea. And I just want to say, like, this has never come to the council before. It starts here. They vet it, do a lot of research on it. And then, you know, if people think it's a really good idea, then it will come up to the council and we will take a look at it. But that's just the process and how it works. So, you know, and just, you can always feel free to call any of us or reach out to any of us. And we're super happy to listen as well. Like, you know, it's coming percolating up, and then you can meet with us and then we can percolate it down. And then if it comes to us, you know, we'll have all this information. So I just want to thank the commission for being, you know, sort of the first stop on a lot of these ideas before they do get to the council. You guys do a great job of vetting them and a great job of trying to figure out, you know, what should be elevated and what shouldn't. And I really appreciate the public coming today to give this. It's very helpful for someone like me to sit in these meetings or review them and hear what you have to say. So thank you very much, Mr. Chair and Commissioners, you guys do great work.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, for your comments. Anyone else that hasn't spoken that wants to speak? Then I will close public comment and we'll go to the commissioners. Who wants to start? He points to you.
I was voluntold. All right, I will start. I mean, there are a lot facets to this issue. And I think it's important to know that, one of the reasons that this has even been discussed is because there have at times been more than 3/4 of a mile of stop traffic along California Avenue. Not necessarily, and I wanted to point this out, as I have before Mr. Wong, that it's not necessarily when you would think a classic rush hour from 4 to 5:30 or 6, because our hospital's rush hour starts at 3. And this can be seen at 2:30 or 3 when people are picking up their kids, and that's when the nursing shifts change. So I've seen traffic multiple times. It's gone at least 3/4 of a mile down all the way to Mills. So the people who are not here and speaking tonight, are a lot of those people who are impacted with being unable to drive on California at those times. And, we noticed obviously the stakeholders who would be affected, property owners and business owners, but the hundreds of people who use California Drive were not noticed regarding this. So I just want to point out that in a way, that populace is not represented this evening. We're going to be undergoing a renovation project in El Camino Real, which is going to be very disruptive and really affect north-south traffic flow in our city. And so it's even more imperative. We began to look at this 4.5 years ago, but I feel like it's even more imperative to find some sort of solution, because the California Broadway intersection in our city is one of the busiest intersections on the peninsula. And we understand that signaling may not be perfect and needs to be worked on. It has been tinkered with. It is difficult to rely on that as a solution for our city and our residents, because we have to work with Caltrans, and we are not in complete control of how that takes place. And it's difficult to find a quick and efficient way to find a solution through that means. One of the main reasons that this is even being looked at is a safety issue. So yes, there is traffic that can back up for 3/4 of a mile daily, but it's a safety issue as well. Cars become extremely impatient after waiting for so long, and they want to turn left, and they see empty left turn signal lane or left turn lanes, but cannot access. And what we see over and over again are people driving into the oncoming traffic lane, crossing over the center yellow line so that they can get through a light instead of just sitting there and missing them over and over. And the same thing happens when people want to go straight and those 2 left turn lanes are impacted and completely full. People will cross over into the bike lane and drive in the bike lane or block the bike lane. And so that's an extremely dangerous situation. We have a lot of kids who go to school that way, people who are commuting from the Millbrae train station that way, which is why that bike lane is so important. So it sounds like we'll be losing 6 parking spots, and I don't deny that that could impact people's businesses. I understand that. We do have a parking lot with, how many spots is it? 20? We used to count them.
It was 22, I believe.
22, a city parking lot.
I'm sorry, through
Yeah.
very, lot S has 22 spaces
22
currently.
spaces that is literally within like 20 feet of, the corner. And what I'd like to think about is how can we make that parking lot work better for our local businesses so that you guys can have people who can use that lot and can still access your businesses, and might even be safer than parking on an extremely busy street like California. I understand it's hard for you to get in and out of your driveway. I would be scared too, but this street, California, it's just going to get worse as our town grows. So we do need to find some way to solve this problem with the least pain to those who will be affected by the loss of parking. I would love to hear about other possible alternatives to make parking lot work better for the local businesses. But I personally feel like this is a change that's been long overdue and that we can't wait for grade separation. I'm not sure grade separation is going to actually even fix this issue. I think we do need to do something to make that a safer intersection sooner rather than later.
Okay. Thank you, Commissioner Israelite. Commissioner Ing?
So, I mean, I want to echo the sentiments that, when you peel the layers back a little bit, working with Caltrans is a really difficult task, but I also feel like we can't just be held hostage to it. And there's got to be better efforts in trying to work with them a little bit closer to work with some of the signaling effects here. I agree that we can't wait for grade separation because we don't know when that's going to happen, which it can actually improve or give us the latitude to do more things here. But I hate this intersection, just flat out. I hate it. I'm on it all the time. I feel like I'm driving to Murray and Bayside constantly, like every single day. And I sit in it and I just curse myself every single time. And we talk about this in every meeting. Like, how can we make this better? Every single time we talk about there's got to be a better way to do this. This isn't how it was ever meant to be designed. This is version 50,012 of the original design. And we know it's not ideal. And it's not how we would do it on a blank sheet of paper. But as much as I hate it and I would be sitting and cursing it, I can't in good faith like take out all the spots that these businesses need at the same time. And so I agree, like we need to make changes. I don't know if we're there yet though. And I think this would be a really rash decision. And again, I'm going to be sitting there going like this at the next intersection and saying, well, but I'm also the guy that said this isn't the right way to do it. So I think we need to continue to review this before we implement change of the size.
All right, thank you, Commissioner Ing. Yeah, this is a really tough problem. We don't want to impact the businesses. I was out there the other day and I observed people parking on the street. They were rolling carts into the laundromat and out to the street to load up their cars. And the laundromat was 3 cars deep. The auto body / muffler shop, that lot seemed to be full as well. However, this is a very congested area, and this intersection is at least 5 years off before we're going to have that grade separation to fix all this. One thought I had, and I don't know if this is even feasible, but the donation center at the Goodwill store, and I sympathize with the Goodwill workers that have to park there all day. The donation center at the Goodwill store is at least half or maybe 3/4 as big as the parking lot. Workers could potentially park a car in there, and they close at almost 2 o'clock every day. So to relieve some of the parking issues for the Goodwill workers, that's a long shot, but it's a possibility. And I was there. I looked at it. The lot was closed. There's a lot of space in there. They only accept donations during a certain time. So that's a potential place for the Goodwill workers only to be able to park some cars. Good solution? No, not a good solution, but it's potential. I can't go net zero, or I can't go negative I can't bring myself to justify going negative on the parking. If we're going to take away that on-street parking, then we have to open up some of the 10-hour parking at the Goodwill site, or the Lot S, I guess, call it Lot S. So where do I sit on this? This is, boy, I am probably more in favor of opening spots in Lot S and redesigning the street to extend the turn lane and bring the bike lane up towards the curb. I would not be in favor of making those changes to the street and not opening up some spots at Lot S. So I think my recommendation is, Mr. Wong, I agree with this proposal. So I think we have a split commission here, and we really need all commissioners to be in agreement. So I think what we should probably do is vote on this. And if it's not unanimous, then it's rejected. Right? Our commission's 5, we need a majority, and if we're not all in agreement on this proposal, then it fails, and you'll have to either redesign it or, I don't know, just bring it to council with our rejection on it. Fair enough?
Fair enough, although, I mean, we can try to take another, again, similar to what we did last week, we can look, again, the timing, traffic signal timing on this one is probably the most complicated intersection on the peninsula because of its 2 intersections, as well as it's connected to the tracks, which is why we need the grade separation. We've tweaked it many times. We could take one more swing at it, but again, for this one, you improve it here, it's going to get a little worse somewhere else, right? And that's the trade-off that we constantly deal with this one, because we have looked at for trying to increase the throughput, but even that little bit, and it's not going to be a change where, there's no queuing, right? It's like, it looks perfect. It will look similar to what it does now. Again, just like the analysis showed, the level of service, wherever we did, it still kind of remains the same. It's going to do that. But we could take another look and report back to you and potentially try to look for some other parking options in the other lots, whether increase the long-term parking at another lot to go over there and open this one up to more short-term. We can try to take a swing at that, but yeah, based on some of the feedback tonight, there's some serious concerns about the on-street parking, and and even at that, the needs for it, right? So anyway, I'll stop.
Okay.
It's your question.
One go back? Yeah.
No, it's a question about procedural. So could we not vote on this and vote on whether to have it be presented to the city council?
We have not made a decision whether we're in favor. So we should vote. Well, I mean, the council wants us to
We have to be.
pick a position before they review it,
Mhm.
right? We have to do our due diligence. Mr. Wong, I'm hearing you don't want us to make a decision. You want to review it further and bring back.
You can make a motion for staff to do a little bit more, right? Similar to the previous motion.
Well, that would fall
Because
under rejection.
We could
Pretty much.
fall under rejection
Yeah.
at the time of this proposal, yes.
Yeah. All right.
How about if,
So you're welcome to make a motion.
could I move that we move forward working on this proposal with specific study looking at parking option, improved parking options?
So
Like,
the
or-
issue before us is to approve or reject the proposal in the
In
staff
the vote?
report. So we either approve or reject it.
Okay.
So do either of you want to make a motion?
I thought in the past we had moved to approve something with the caveat that X, Y, or Z is looked at, or no?
Through the chair, I think
Good.
those are a little different because
Yeah.
this is dealing with the municipal code and we're pretty
Yeah.
strict. So I think
Yeah.
this case,
Okay, it has to be done.
yes,
Has to be 100% done.
Yeah, yeah,
especially going to council.
yeah.
Okay, I make a motion.
I move that.
I move that staff get back to us on this with parking option solutions for the local businesses, if we should move forward with this.
So let's do it. I'm sorry, procedurally, let's do it 2 ways. Let's vote on this, and then you can make a second motion to request a study and return of this project to our commission.
Okay.
Fair enough? Because this is what we're called upon to vote on. So let's get this out of the way, and then you can move
Okay.
a second.
No,
Yeah.
I think this is something we don't.
Yeah. No, I agree.
next month.
All right.
No, absolutely, if possible.
Okay, you make the motion.
So we don't, well, I'll just ask, is there a motion to approve the report here? Does anybody want it as is? Does anybody want to make that? There's only three of
was
us.
just confused as to if we approve this, does that mean staff does not have to look at parking solutions for local businesses?
Yes.
Okay, so
Yes.
then I move that we do not approve this plan as
Okay.
it currently stands this evening.
Second.
Okay. Okay. So, so no one's in favor of approving this? You two are not,
As it stands now.
As
as it stands? Okay. All right. And so by majority, then, the motion fails. Okay? So this current plan has failed. Okay, now, does somebody want to make a motion that we bring this back with updates? That I will.
I'd like to move that staff immediately review parking options and bring it back to Teaspoon as quickly as possible, if next month even better.
I second that.
Okay, so we have a motion to review parking options, bring it back to Teaspoon in the next month or two at the latest. Motion made by Commissioner Ng, seconded by Commissioner Israelet. And Ms. Brewer, can we have a roll call, please?
Sure. Commissioner Ng? Commissioner Israelet?
Aye.
Vice Chair Martos?
Aye. All right, there you go, Mr. Wong and public. Okay, thank you. So
Thank you.
we will get a notice out on when this will be back.
We will,
Right.
once we bring it back, we will do the same noticing that we did with where the folks found it. They'll be passed out notices on that. It's such a short block. It's not 500 folks, so we'll do the same thing.
Yeah.
Make sure folks attend.
All right, very good. Okay, thank you. Thank you all. All right, thank you, Mr. Wong. We'll move on to item 7A. And do we have any public comments on the informational items? Nada? Okay. So item 6 or 7B, community group updates. Any community group updates? Nothing? No.
Sorry. No comments.
No. Okay. 7C, engineering reports, engineering division report. A pretty healthy one this month.
Thank you, Vice Chair. The grant opportunities, we're in the process of applying we have ability to apply for 3 applications for the Measure A and Measure W funds, which are under the Alternative Congestion Relief and Transportation Demand Management Programs put out by the SMCTA. So we were going to be, as we talked about the previous meeting, there were several pedestrian improvements. We're going to group those into one and have another crack at the pedestrian improvements, the quick build improvements, high visibility walks, and those sort of items. Again, this will hopefully be quicker because it doesn't involve state. We go directly to the county transportation authority, and it's always been a much smoother process. So that's one. The other 2 projects, California Drive, North Lane Transit Hub, pedestrian and bicycle improvements. So right now, and we will talk about this under future items, we have a grant for going from Oak Grove, but it just went shy of the station. So these would be improvements on the other, right now, all right, there's a project going on that's improving the south side of the station, basically. And so that parking lot, that area, that hasn't been touched. So this project would improve that for both bicycles and pedestrians to access it. We'll try to clean that up. So that would be the second project. The third project is the Bay Trail gap closure at South Airport. You'd seen this when we talked about going by Oculus, Meta, whatever out there, that where we tied into the Bay Trail. This is improving that connection. So those are the 3. Any questions on that? Informational? Okay. Oak Grove parallel and traffic signal improvements. We finally had our diagnostic meeting with the Caltrain and CPUC regarding the signal plans, and then they had they were going to provide us with additional comments regarding the preemption and the things that we have provided to them. So we're getting that to them, and they're going to give us additional feedback. So once we get that feedback and are able to address it, that's at some point we'll come back or provide an update on that, the details of that, because the whole plan right now may change a little bit depending on their comments. Make sense? All right.
Mm-hmm.
Keep going. El Camino Real renewal. Again, this project is a three-headed beast, a hydra, so to speak. We've got Caltrans, we've got PG&E, and ourselves. So that said, the coordination's a little tougher, but we're trying to get through it. The emergency tree work that has been occurring, where we've had them at least keep one lane open in each direction. That is now done, but they will be going back to potholing activities, where so similar things will happen, where they're going to have to close the lane to access it and probably should move across the roadway. So once we know that information, we will get it out via and provide that. Again, they're not the best at giving us advance time, but we've been trying our best to push them. Last thing, this project's anticipated to start sometime in the middle of next year. And once we get that, we've tried to get them to detour folks at Peninsula and Millbrae so you don't have regional traffic going across, so we can divert some of that, get them off. And so we still have to deal with local traffic, but at least local traffic, maybe they'll have one lane in each direction like we do now, but trying to drop the amount of vehicles on El Camino, because it's just, yeah, it's going to be a.
May I ask a question?
Sure.
Through the chair.
Mm-hmm.
So that had been brought up before by so when you say detour, I'm just trying to understand, are you detouring them from Peninsula and Millbrae onto 101, or detouring them where, north, south?
Yeah, and that would probably be it. Try to get them onto 101, like to have them turn off. And it's no through traffic, that type of thing. No through traffic, continue on, and then detour them up over Millbrae to 101 and Peninsula, down Peninsula to whichever, obviously probably go over by, trying to blank at the regional park that's out there that I think of, Coyote Point, and then send them up 101 that way.
Okay. All right. Thank you. I just wanted to clarify.
And the last one, BIS. So feedback we've gotten has been positive from talking to the folks, talking to school staff, talking to the crossing guard out there, and even talking to residents. Which usually isn't the case when we do something like this. So the only thing now is, as school restarts, we've got to get the message back out. Otherwise, it's going to be this Groundhog Day every year, probably not between every break. Remind them, folks doing this. So the only other items are the school is going to try to extend their exit lane a little bit. So we got to check in on that, as well as we do have the temporary satellite drop off. So which we'll see how they're working with the school just to get their feedback on it. And school's out, so there's no use checking with them. And then if they're still in support of it, we can paint them, make them permanent. Because right now they are still functional. We'll have the signs out there when school restarts.
And by that, do you mean the drop off right on Casada by the school? Because you have painted the ones on Marco Polo, correct?
Correct. Sorry, by the one by Casada. That's the one that's.
Yeah, we never painted that. Why are we not painting it just now? We already did it for how long? When did we start this? Like, it's been at least.
We just wanted feedback from the school, a little bit more direct feedback, and we never got feedback from them. Just to get their buy-in that's usage. Yeah, they didn't get back to me when school. They had other things, so.
Unfortunately, I don't have my on-site spies, if you will. I have 1 year and then my son will be there. So then I don't have people on site again, but it's still chaotic, but I think it's better.
Yeah.
It's better, but it's functioning as with the signage. But I just want to make sure people aren't ignored already. Otherwise, it's just going to go to waste, right? And I have been out there since school, obviously, since there's no school. just to observe, see how it's being used. So that's a combination of that.
So on that as well, on the circulation, are BPD going to be waving people circulate this way? I mean, we're going to have it at the beginning of the year. We're going to have any presence out there to
Well,
make sure
BPD, they,
people follow the circulation?
they do try to get out there, but
Mhm.
it's tough because how many, they do this at the start of
Yeah.
every school year with all the schools. And so
Yeah.
we've had that issue with Hoover where we got folks out there and, and I let Sergeant Roberts dictate, and then their staff is, Officer Rambaugh, the school resource officer, now retired. So there's a person there. There, he might be lacking on some motor officers, as I've heard. So
Okay.
it gets tougher every time.
Okay. We'll see how it goes. You could be deputized.
Could I have a shiny badge?
All right. Anything else, Mr. Wong?
That is it for the engineers.
Okay.
So we
Thank you.
we tried.
Appreciate all the updates on the engineer's report.
Thank you.
All right. Item 7D, Sergeant Roberts.
Here we go.
Yes, sir.
Excellent. So I have the June and July collisions to report on. So I'll start with June. In the month of June, there were 13 collisions to report. And among those collisions, 8 collisions were with another motor vehicle, 3 with parked vehicle, and 2 collisions with fixed objects. Among the collision factors, the most common were yielding after stop and unsafe turning. A collision that is on the list that I wanted to highlight is the one ending in case number 1530. It's the second one down. That was a vehicle versus vehicle collision. A vehicle was traveling eastbound on Donnelly, came to a stop at Lorton. The vehicle then began a left turn onto northbound Lorton, but did not yield to another vehicle that was traveling northbound on Lorton. And that one resulted in minor injuries. And I'd just like to point out that for the month of June, as well as the month of July, on all of the collisions that are here, there was not a single collision that involved a major injury. So we're thankful for that. Do you have any questions regarding collisions in the month of June?
June.
Okay.
Yep, please.
Can I ask about the third from the bottom, second page, that was a incident involving a pedestrian?
Is this?
That's a July collision.
July? Any questions on June?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, that's okay.
Sorry, I did have one.
Yes.
Intersection ever, case ending in 50.
Yes, Ray Drive. So that is another instance of a vehicle northbound El Camino making a left turn onto Ray in front of another vehicle traveling southbound.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I did think of you when I thought that. I should have put it on my automatic report.
No,
Anything else on June? Okay, Sergeant July.
In
report?
July, 12 collisions to report in the month of July. We have 5 vehicle collisions with another motor vehicle, 1 with a parked car. 4 collisions involve fixed objects. There was 1 bicycle and 1 pedestrian collision in the month of July. Collision factors predominantly overwhelmingly unsafe turning, and then some yielding right-of-way violations. The vehicle versus bicycle collision, which is case ending in 1824. Is that on here?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Oh, there it is. So that'll be the kind of in the middle of the pack there. That was a vehicle that had exited a driveway on the 1500 block of Bayshore and then proceeded down the road traveling northbound and then made a turn back into the driveway, but that was in the path of a bicyclist who was traveling along the curb edge northbound on Bayshore as well. Fortunately, no major injuries, report of complaint of pain and minor abrasions. And then
Did the bike hit the vehicle or the vehicle hit the bike?
the vehicle was turning and I believe the bicyclist got cut off. And so
Okay.
the bicycle
Okay.
got into the side of the vehicle.
Okay, kind of got pinched in there.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, okay.
And then the other case was the pedestrian-related, third from the bottom. That's a case ending in 1962. That is a vehicle traveling northbound on 300 block of Primrose approaching Chapin. A pedestrian began crossing from east to west on Chapin. The crosswalk, the north crosswalk, which is the one closer to the library, the vehicle apparently did not notice the pedestrian and brushed the pedestrian, causing a minor injury, which was complaint of pain and abrasion.
So the car was traveling on Primrose.
On Primrose.
And I'm trying to.
So if you're coming, say, from Burlingame Avenue on Primrose, you're going north towards where the library is. Then you have the T intersection with Chapin, and there's a crosswalk on the north side closer to the library. And that was where the pedestrian was crossing from the east to west. So from the driver of the vehicle's right-hand side across the street.
Mhm. Okay. Okay, any other questions?
Yeah.
Yeah, go ahead,
the
Commissioner.
case ending in 1855 Broadway in California.
Okay. 1855. That was a vehicle traveling westbound on Broadway, and it rear-ended another vehicle that was stopping for traffic at California Drive.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
So, Sergeant, is this filtered at all, or are we seeing all?
Yes, I'm sorry. I have my little caveat. So I did not include any collisions that occurred on private property
Okay,
or hit and runs where we couldn't determine a cause, or any that were criminally related, like a DUI crash.
okay. Okay, because a DUI crash, we don't consider a traffic design issue.
Correct.
It's a person design
Primary.
issue.
The primary factor for
Yeah.
DUI collisions is the driving influence.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to, identify any trends, any intersections where there's a,
Right.
a high incident of collisions and things, just to kind of gauge
Does Commissioner,
is there anything we can do to clean things up on our streets and make things more safe, so these reports are important to us for that.
Agreed.
Appreciate all the information, but that's really what we're trying to focus on. So, yeah. And I think I've said this before, but I don't know if your officers have any opinion on things, but they're on the streets all the time, all day long, 24 hours a day, and they probably observe things that they might say, hey, that doesn't look real safe. Maybe I should bring that to somebody's attention. If that ever comes up, we'd love to hear that. I mean, we only have so much visibility, and we bring the public here so we get more visibility on different things, making the streets safe when your officers are traveling it all day long, every day. We might learn something that we can then consider or provide to the traffic engineers to consider that might make the streets even safer. So if that ever comes up, please bring it forward to us. We really appreciate it.
Will do. Thank
Okay. All right. Very good. Thank you, Sergeant Roberts. All right. So we'll move on to 7E real quick. Anybody have any communications? Anybody in the public or anything? Nope. Nope. Neither did I. All right. Go to 8A. Any public comments on our committees? Nada. Okay. 8B, BIS, safety study.
School's been out, so no changes.
No, it's all good.
Very safe.
Yeah.
But
good.
It would be nice to get the dropout zones.
Yeah.
Finished.
Permanent, yeah, permanent.
Yeah. I think I read in the minutes that we were considering disbanding
Yes.
this committee, but I'll wait for the chair to return, which I think is next month. We were going to sunset
I
this.
was waiting for you to return from
We were waiting for, yeah, we were waiting for you to return, right? And then I prefer that the chair makes that decision.
Sure.
So we'll push that off to next month. Hillside Drive,
Yes. So.
Same commissioners.
Andy and I did meet.
Okay.
And I was kind of hoping Andy would be.
Yeah.
This, because we did meet and we came up with a proposal or plan for what we thought would be helpful to calm traffic on Hillside. It would be really nice if it could be done prior to the start of school, which is not going to happen.
Okay.
Because we have had, I think we've all gotten the same emails from people that are concerned about their kids crossing for Hoover and BIS. But we had come up with a couple of things that we thought would be good ideas.
Mhm.
To add a stop sign at probably, I think we said Carlos.
Yeah.
Because there's no stop sign between the top of the rise at Vancouver and all the way to Alvarado. So people get up there and then they're just, we also wanted to suggest that we lower the speed limit from Alvarado down to close to Our Lady of Angels to 25 from 30, and it drops to 25 closer to the church. And was there a third thing?
I mean, the only other context was we also had the good fortune of running into Councilmember Brownrigg during the process of having these discussions on site and socialize some of those ideas with him. And, he was certainly intrigued and wanted to be acutely aware of any developments on this front. So I think, have some level of council's eyes on it, which I think is great.
Okay.
Yeah, and I asked Mr. Wong, I sent him, after we met, I drafted an ICC'd you, I believe, the things that we thought would be helpful, and asked him if he could start looking at traffic flow and like warranting a stop sign and add a crosswalk. But I didn't get a reply, so I don't know where we are.
Okay.
I don't know if it was received or if he began work on that.
Okay, good. All right, good report, good progress. All right, KPIs, key performance indicators. Both commissioners are not here, so no status there. Vision Zero, so I sat in on the interviews for the two consultants that were responded to the RFI, one of those, request for proposal, request for information. I think it was a request for proposal. Anyway, they submitted a bid. It was interesting, comparing the two. I don't know what the engineering department has decided, but I think either one of the consultants are going to be very helpful as we holistically look across the city and look at traffic and safety concerns and mitigations to try and improve things across our whole city. Lighting is part of that, and various intersections. So looking forward to that kicking off, I think later this year.
I was gonna,
So, yeah.
So I had heard that they were gonna change the name from Vision Zero to something else. Is that true?
I don't know about that.
Okay. And then my other question was, nothing really happened for a while, like you guys were waiting.
Waiting.
And now it sounds like it is moving
Yes,
forward?
yes,
Okay.
yes. So they need to select the consultant, and then we'll start having our meetings, community feedback sessions and things like that. So, yeah, so it should be good.
Cool.
All right. And that's it. So we need to go bring him back in so we can talk about future agenda items. I think he's got, hey, what do you mean you're going to take away our parking?
Oh, really?
I think he's talking with people. Oh no, he was talking to the mayor. Okay, oh gosh. All right.
Can we ask him about the hillside thing as part of the next agenda?
Say again?
Can we ask him about the hillside traffic?
Oh,
For the next.
All right, well, it's all right. The mayor has priority. Our time is very limited.
Yes. Well, I was trying. to
All
do my
right,
best.
so we are at future agenda items. Future agenda items, Mr.
All right.
Wong. So, suggestion from the commissioners, Commissioner
Yeah,
Israel.
we're just saying for the record that, and I know we've communicated with you that we had met for the Hillside traffic calming
Yes.
thing, and there were several suggestions, and we were hoping that we could talk about that, next meeting, if we can get like a stop sign warranted and a crosswalk and, the changes, the speed limit changes, et cetera.
So we could, through the chair, we could take a look at that, getting the warrants done because school's not quite in session and trying to get the counts for that and work on that. That may, especially given the Hillside area with, folks going to BIS and God, I'm drawing a blank on the name.
Hoover.
Well, not just Hoover, what?
Roosevelt,
Ro-
OLA,
Parochial School Off.
Oh,
OLA,
Our Lady of Angels.
Yes.
OLA, ALL, OLA.
OLA. Anyway, and it goes. So we can get to that. We can address some of the others. We can look at. I've taken a quick look at the list. So it's something we can try to look at and at least set up and involve the folks on Hillside and start getting support. We maybe won't have run the warrants, but we can definitely talk about some of the potential options there and then garner what the support will be. So it's something we can have next meeting, just maybe not have the warrants yet, talking about
Okay.
stop sign.
And you can't use historic data like the GPS type data that we used.
We're looking for turn movement counts and we're looking for the warrants. So those are either we have someone do it or we sit out there and then,
Okay,
so.
thank you.
Okay. Other things that we might bring to the agenda next month?
So now that I think we'll try a couple of them, South Rollins.
Okay.
Where we talk about trying to do some of the safety or pedestrian improvements along there. That was a grant that we had received to do some of that quick build, another quick build, but more for traffic calming, what to do on Rollins itself.
Does that include the study that Chair Reblos and former Chair Lee
It's on the south.
studied?
South.
Oh, south,
South.
not north.
You have a project.
Did north, okay.
We got North Rollins as well on a project. on
Okay.
grant. We just selected the team for that, but I think that one's just.
Okay, okay, south, okay.
And then the other one of interest will be California Drive, south of Oak Grove, continuing that. So we're looking at something, well, I'd like to say up against the rail and continue what we did north. And then going to almost to the station. Again, I think we talked about that. One of the grants that we're going for is to finish that last gap between where the parking lot ends into the station. So this would get us there. So we might talk about that and potential options. And again, we're trying to make sure we don't affect too much of what's out there and trying to see what we can squeeze in, but make reason. So I think I'll have to check with Mr. Yang, but those may be a couple of things coming back. And then, I was thinking of Hillside, what we can do to.
Okay.
Or if you aren't going to be able to do warranting, what about the parking, the issue tonight, the California Broadway?
I'll talk to the director and see what we have as far as looking at the signals one we can try to look at, but as far as
Parking.
Either way, we're gonna need to find parking options. right?
yeah, we can start looking at. I'm not sure we'll be ready because just I gotta kick around what potential options.
Then we'll come back next month.
Close. I'll talk to Mr. Yang.
All right.
Talk to the consultant, see based on what we got tonight, how much we can do. A lot of it's going to be playing with numbers, right?
Yeah.
What we can do.
But you're really close.
You're really,
We're really close.
Okay. Well, we'll see.
I think it's great.
I'm
Yeah.
Not being off, anyway.
still on the record.
Mhm.
We're still on the record.
No.
Okay. All right. Anything else, commissioners? Somebody move to adjourn.
Adjourn.
Move to adjourn, second. Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you.